in this video I will try to make some sort of a therapy, because I suffer from many psychological problems, but in my worldview, psychological problems are just the reflection in the realm of the psyche or the soul of philosophical problems which arise in the realm of pure reason. And one of the problems that I suffer from is that I am a very emotional person, and my emotions cause me a great deal of suffering. So I try to rationalize and intellectualize my emotions, to detach myself from my emotions. But then I suffer, because someone who is completely detached from emotions is what in ordinary language we call a psychopath, which is kind of ironic, because a psychopath is someone who suffers from the affects and the emotions of the soul. So I am constantly switching between these two tendencies of being affected by my emotions and trying to detach myself from my emotions by rationalizing my emotions. So yeah. And in this video I will talk about the anger that I have within me. I have anger within me, and I do not know where this anger comes from. And anger is a psychological determination used to qualify what in the philosophy of Hegel is called negativity. The negative in Hegel's philosophy in the realm of psychology is the manifestation and the cause of all the negative emotions. And anger is a negative emotion. And from a philosophical standpoint, I know myself to be what Hegel calls the negative. And I do not know why I am negative. I do not know where this negativity comes from. So I am angry against myself for not understanding my own anger. And I have anger within me, and I do not know who to direct my anger against. And I see three options. The first option is that I could be angry against God, but that would be madness to be angry against God. Second option, I could be angry against the world. But in my worldview, the world is the mirror of God. So by being angry against the world, I am indirectly being angry against God, which is, again, madness. So there's only one option left, that I can only direct my anger against myself. And that's what I will try to do. But I need to express my inner conflicts on the outside world, to project them on the outside world, while knowing that by doing this, the outside world at some moment will reflect back my anger against myself. But I am not yet smart enough, I guess, to fully direct all the anger against myself. I need to exteriorize while knowing that it will come back at me. So I am in a conflicted position. So I made a list of all the figures of consciousness that I am angry against. And in my view, deep down I am a Protestant. And in my worldview, the most important relationship that a soul or a Christian or a mind has is the direct relationship with God. And God, the way I envision him, wants me to be honest, even if this honesty has to cost me dearly. So the way I envision things, if I have anger within me, and if God wants me to be honest, he wants me to admit that I am angry. And because he is God, he will punish me for being angry, because that's a sin. But at the same time, maybe he will acknowledge that I have tried to be honest. Partly because there are angers that I am not aware of yet, but here I have listed some angers that I have against figures of consciousness in the world, which are mirrors of God. So I am indirectly being angry against God, and I wonder if these figures of consciousness might not be a reflection of my own self. So I am indirectly angry against myself. So that's very complex. So here's the list of some of the people that I am angry against. I will try to develop the reasons why. First, I am angry against the Hegelian scholars, because usually these are very intelligent people with IQs in the 140, 50, 60, even more, who spend 8 years studying philosophy in prestigious universities. And I'm angry against them because I don't understand what they understand when they read Hegel. Hegel talks about God, spirit, the divine, almost in every page of his works. So how can one be an atheist Hegelian? I don't understand. I don't understand what the Hegelian scholars understand when they read that reason is the singular consciousness which knows itself to be the whole of reality. I don't understand what they understand when Hegel talks about absolute idealism, because if Hegel was an absolute idealist, it means that the world was an idea in the mind of Hegel. So the basic premise of studying Hegel, when you are a scholar, when you've spent 8 years or more sometimes studying Hegel, is to ask yourself, am I an idea in the mind of Hegel? And there are not many people who ask themselves this question. The only one I'm aware of is Slavoj Zizek, who asked a very relevant question: is Hegel dead, or are we dead in the eyes of Hegel? So the reason why Slavoj Zizek is so smart is because he had the honesty of thinking himself as being not a thought or an idea, but envisioning his own perspective in relation to Hegel. So, but I will talk about Slavoj Zizek later, but that's a sign of intelligence. Okay. Then, second, I am angry against the scholars who study Nietzsche and write books about Nietzsche and spend many years studying, commenting, reading Nietzsche, because it doesn't take a lot of effort and a lot of reading to understand that the purpose of Nietzsche's philosophy is to transcend Nietzsche himself. What Nietzsche wants is to be transcended. So Nietzsche should be read just long enough to understand, okay, the philosophy of Nietzsche is the overcoming of Nietzsche himself. I'm not saying that you shouldn't read Nietzsche, but to consider yourself a Nietzschean because you've read all the books and commented all the books, that's cheap in my way. Yeah. Then, I am angry against the intellectuals who reject Hegel because of the history of the 20th century. Those who say Hegel was a holistic thinker and this totalitarian way of thinking brings about totalitarianism in the realm of politics, so we should reject Hegel. To think that Hegel is the cause of of National Socialism or communism in the 20th century, and to say that because he might have caused these dramatic events, that we should not be Hegelians anymore, that's not an argument. Yeah. Then, I am angry against the Catholic Church for a reason that I don't understand. I don't know why. Probably because of the writings of Martin Luther and the idea that there should be an intermediary between man and God, that the Pope is the intermediary between man and God. This idea, I kind of reject this idea because who does the Pope think he is to speak in the name of God? That's a very Protestant idea, but I guess that I'm a Protestant, so I don't understand the Catholics. A part of me is angry against the scientific atheists, people like Dawkins, because the angry part of me would like to say, who do you think you are to say that God is a delusion? Because in the eyes of God, you are a delusion, Mr. Dawkins. And deep down, I love Richard Dawkins. And I think that the existence of Richard Dawkins is one of God's greatest joke ever, one of the most comical joke ever. So, yeah. So I love Richard Dawkins, but I'm nonetheless angry for his thinking that he might say that God is a delusion. But I feel angry against myself for being angry against Dawkins, because deep down I know that God loves Richard Dawkins more than many other people, maybe. That's the great comical irony of God. Then I am angry against Slavoj Zizek, which is a man that I admire, but I am angry against him because he understands everything about Hegel and almost everything about God except that God exists. How can you not understand that Hegel and God are correct in most of their ideas? How can Zizek, with all his intelligence, be an atheist? I don't understand, and it makes me kind of angry. Yeah. Then I am angry against Jordan Peterson because it's so easy to talk about courage and speaking the truth and talking about dealing with the darker self and the subconscious. But what if, Mr. Peterson, what if your own subconscious became manifest in the world? What if your darkest aspects became realities in the world? And what if being God was the experience of having one's subconscious becoming manifest? Because it's very easy to say, oh, you have to deal with your darker self, but your own dark psyche, Mr. Peterson, it is within your own mind. Only you know what is in your mind. But God has to confront his own subconscious and to deal with his own darkness, and that's very difficult. So I know that you are a good man and a courageous man, but yeah. Then I wrote that I was kind of angry against the Anglo-Saxon mind, but it's not really true. I feel pity and compassion for what I call the Anglo-Saxon mind, which is the mind which sees the world through purely quantitative determinations and empirical facts, and people like Charles Murray and Jared Taylor, I feel pity for them because they see Jared Taylor sees the white race only through the mediation of quantitative data and facts and empirical determinations, and Charles Murray sees human accomplishment only through the mediation of quantitative statistics. To appreciate scientific, artistic, literary achievement by registering the number of times that great men have been listed in encyclopedias, in a way you kind of completely misses the point. To say that, I don't know, Beethoven was a great musician because he is the musician who is the most often listed in encyclopedias, it's so absurd that it makes me feel compassion, and hopefully Mr. Charles Murray and people like Jared Taylor are capable of appreciating art in a different perspective than just by quantifying and collecting empirical facts. I hope that they can have an aesthetic experience of reality, and yeah, so I can feel of compassion. And also the English, and I include the white Americans, they have produced great poets, great writers, great scientists, but there is almost no great Anglo-Saxon philosophers. And people like Locke and Hume and Bentham and Mill, and they are anti-philosophers in a way. And by being anti-philosophers in a perspective of Hegel, they are philosophers, they are a moment in the development of the philosophical idea, but there is no speculative philosophers except the absolute idealist of the 19th century. But England and the Anglo-Saxon mind is a mystery, because the Anglo-Saxon have produced an enormous amount of creative, brilliant men in all fields of human endeavor except in the field of philosophy. So yeah. Then about the English of England, a part of me is angry against them because they opposed Germany more than 2 times. And Germany wanted to save itself and to save England, and the English opposed the Germans. And from what I broadly know about European history, the way I see things, the English are the cousins of the Germans, and they have been scheming throughout the centuries to prevent the rise of Germany's will to power and domination on the European continent. There have been countless manipulations and schemings to prevent Germany from establishing its rightful place in Europe. So I feel kind of angry against the English for opposing the Germans, who are their cousins and their brothers. Then a part of me is angry against the French and against France for the same reasons, but Germany has always tried to save France from itself. And the history of Europe can be interpreted in an attempt from Germany to invade and to conquer France and to subjugate France, but the will of the Germans was to save France, and the French did not understand that. And the French poisoned, in a way, Europe and the world with their ideas, the ideas of the French Revolution. And all the miseries of Europe are caused by French ideas, which equality, liberty, and fraternity are true in the realm of spirit, but the realm of spirit is German, and the French try to implement these ideas in the political realm. And if I think honestly, I know that this negation of the German spirit is a moment in the development of the German spirit. But when I'm not intelligent enough, I blame France for having opposed Germany. But this part of me of lacking intelligence and not being able to grasp speculative logic every time is a part of me. So yeah, a part of me, the angry part of me, believes that trying to resist German imperialism is kind of evil. And those who oppose resistance to the will of the Germans are evil. A part of me believes this. Yeah. I try to be honest. I will pay the price for my honesty, but at least I will have been honest. Then, a part of me is angry against the European Union because it turns Europeans into decadent and degenerate people. The European Union is a bad joke. It represents everything that is not Europe. But then again, if I'm spiritually intelligent, I understand that the existence of the European Union is the condition which must bring about the spiritual rise of Europe. So when I'm intelligent, I understand. But I cannot help but be stupid. And when I am stupid, I am angry. And a part of me is angry against the existence of the European Union, whose sole purpose is to negate Europe. Ethnically, culturally, spiritually, and so on and so forth. Then, I am angry against the Eastern Wisemen, the Buddhists, the Hindus, and so on and so forth, who talk about the nothingness, the void, and so on. It's so easy to retreat into the pure nothingness of nothingness. And the difference between these Eastern wise men and Western spirituality is that we in the West, we go through the whole process and you just escape in the nothingness. And it seems a little bit easy the way I envision the perspective. Then a part of me is angry against the rich and the privileged and the wealthy who question God. God gave you everything. Why are you questioning Him? Then another part of me, an insane part, is angry against the poor and the deprived who love God. Because I wonder, God gave you a miserable life. Why do you love Him? You should be angry against Him, and you should wish to improve your condition. And this idea is the idea that you should rebel against God is insane. But a part of me wants those who suffer to blame the suffering on God. So, and whatever I blame on God, God will blame on me. So in a way, I want them to blame me and to say, yeah. I try to be honest. Then, of course, I am angry against the left because not the left in general, only the white leftist liberals. Because they feel so good about feeling bad. And this virtue signaling of saying, oh, we're so bad. They feel so good when they feel bad. And yeah, I'm kind of angry against them because of that. Then I am angry against the Germans for being ashamed of their own cultural, religious, and spiritual heritage. Which is the highest peak of schizophrenia, I guess. Yeah. And finally, I am angry against those who read books, knowing that I have spent my entire adult life reading books. Because I will try to be honest, whatever the price I pay. Because, truth be told, the only book you need is the Bible, and all other books are kind of useless. So I understand the Amish, who I guess do not read many books. They just read the Bible, and they work and they pray, and they have a simple life. And yeah. So I needed to express this anger that I have in me, knowing that what I said at the beginning of the video is that in truth I am only angry against myself, and I'm only projecting my inner negativity onto others and onto God. And the truth is that I can only be angry against myself, and I don't understand where this negativity comes from. And I don't understand. But there's a quality that I have always admired in some authors that I've read. It's the ruthless honesty. And honesty is ruthless. And truth hurts. But Jesus said that the truth shall set you free. And I guess that I want to be hurt, but I also want to be free. So I do not expect God not to punish me, because I know that I deserve it, but I expect him to... I don't expect, but if I were the absolute truth, I would be Christ, which I am not. So I can only speak relative truths, but I try to be relatively honest as my own negativity allowed me to be at this moment in time. And I am angry against myself. And I don't know where this anger comes from. And this is the cause of all my suffering. So, yeah.